Hey there, welcome to the archives. So this post that I'm going to share, I originally posted it on my blog on October 25th of 2020. So that was almost 2 years ago now. At the time, it wasn't accompanied by audio, and so I had gotten feedback a while back to make my website more accessible. So I'm slowly revisiting previous blog posts and making audio and video versions of those available. So please work with me, and thanks for your patience. Okay. So this episode is called Equality versus Equity. As Black and Brown movement workers and white anti-racists demand an emphasis on cultural and systemic shifts that point to more equitable terms for all, what we find is that changes begin to take place that are more equal, but not necessarily more equitable. So equality is a great start, but it's not enough, right? Shocking, I know. So for me, Toronto-based anti-racist and anti-oppression, also known as ARAO. So if you hear the acronyms ARAO, sometimes it stands for anti-racist and anti-oppression. So there's Toronto-based professionals and strategy workers like Lana James, Crystal Perriman-Mark, Dion Faulkner, Doug Stewart, and Beth Jordan. They have been foundational in my early understandings of the nuances between equality and equity. They were some of the first who trained me on ARAO in the past, and they've shaped how I approach equity versus equality. So I want to name that, and I did that in the original blog. I also did my master's. This is what I'm adding this now to this new blog. I also did my master's in equity, sociology and equity studies at the University of Toronto, and I just got a PhD in feminist and gender studies. I'm also an African Canadian who straddles multiple identities, some of which are seemingly contradictory. So like being a cash poor student, but from wealthier than most Ghanaian families with a lot of social and political power, right? How are you saying you're poor if your family is rich? I can check my bank account. Or being neurodivergent and queer, but Catholic, right? You're supposed to be prim and proper. You're all of the debates going on right now with Beyonce's church girl. People are losing it. They're saying it makes the church look bad. There's this assumption that you can't be a thotty, you can't twerk and be a church girl. People are losing their minds because they're stuck with the binaries. I tend to be on both sides of what people think are contradictions because they're caught in binaries. You need to be one way or the other. They don't understand fluidity. They don't understand that these are Eurocentric concepts, but that's beside the point. You get the point, and if you don't, say la vie. That's a you problem. What I wanted to share is that these are, for me, some of the contextual pieces that contribute to the frameworks that I have around equality versus equity, right? And so when I share this blog post, think about where I'm coming from. When I say that you can have an equal environment, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's equitable or even just. So a popular anti-racist analogy that I was taught presents us with the imagery of a facilitator handing out an equal number of crayons to a group of people. Okay, so they do this to show that you can share an equal amount with everyone, and that doesn't necessarily mean that in the end everyone is equal or that what you just did is equal. So here's how it goes. Say that there's a group of 5 people, right? There's a group of 5 people. You are a facilitator, and your task is to give each of those 5 people an equal number of crayons. You're distributing the crayons. Let's say it's 5 crayons each for everybody. We're taking it back to the basics, back to school. Okay? 5 crayons for you, 5 crayons for you, 5 crayons for you. Each of those 5 individuals get 5 crayons each. All in the name of equality, right? That seems fair. Doesn't that seem fair? You gave everybody 5 crayons. That's equal. Yeah, but is it? Right? yeah, you're like, well, yes, it's equal. I gave everybody 5 crayons. No one can complain that I gave them more or less than the other. They were all given the same equal 5 crayons. Justice has been served, you say. I stuck it to the patriarchy, you think. I'm killing it as a facilitator, you tell yourself. I mean, but like, have you really achieved the goal of equality between all 5? This is a question that a lot of us are asking. A lot of us woke people, right? We're considered to be woke, or people don't like it. But the question is, yes, you have given everybody 5 equal crayons, but does that mean that you just achieved equality? A lot of people would say yes. That's equality. Equality means everybody got the same. They all got 5 crayons. We are equal. We're calling bullshit. A lot of anti-racists, a lot of people who do anti-racism and anti-oppression work, a lot of your favorite feminists that you can't stand, we're saying that's not equal. Why is that not equal? Spoiler alert. Because you have just made conditions way worse for some people while making it exponentially better for others. How does that make any sense? Think about it. If you were one of those 5 people who had 1 crayon to begin with, and now you got 5, you have 6 crayons. But if you, and let's say another person among the 5 was starting with 10 crayons already, now they have 15. So while your good intention meant that you gave and distributed equal amounts to everybody, you still yielded inequality and disparities. 6 crayons is not the same as 15 crayons. 15 crayons is greater than 6. 6 is less than 15. The two are not equal, though everybody achieved or received equal amounts, right? We have to think about true equality means we have to consider and ask questions of each individual in each of the 5 has to be specifically sat down and asked a lot of different questions about their needs in order to assess what is truly equal. You can't give everybody 5 if somebody had 0 to start with, because now they have 5. You can't give everybody 5 if somebody had 10 to start with, because now they had 15. So while you think you're doing great and being equitable, somebody has 5 and another person has 15. How is that still equal? So what we haven't considered is how many crayons each of the 5 had to begin with, right? This leading question is crucial if we want to understand and to truly achieve equality for all. We have to ask how many each person, each community, each individual, each culture, XYZ, insert whatever you need. We have to ask how much they began with in the first place. We have to question how they came to get the number of crayons in the first place. Who did they get the initial crayons from? What shape and condition were the crayons in when they first got it? Were any of these crayons previously stolen or somebody else's? Were they hand-me-downs? Right? Did somebody get a new pack of crayons and another one got thrift store crayons? By who? Who was it donated or on loan? Do they have to return the crayons to somebody else? Is there interest on some of the crayons and not on others? We have to literally ask a lot of questions, as annoying and tedious as that may sound. Like, shocking. It takes hard work to figure this shit out. But we can't always make assumptions. So for most of us, this means taking a situated approach and asking each of the 5 what they need. And by situated, I mean specific. I mean case by case. I mean one size does not fit all. Right? Meaning we have to ask and consult with each of them individually or collectively in order to know how many crayons they truly require to be on more equitable terms with the rest. So some people will call this an environmental scan or a needs assessment. It's just basically understanding the lay of the land, right? What is these 5 people in this room? What's going on between each individual 5? What do we have here to start with? Rather than making a hypothesis and an assumption out of, well, we're giving them 5 and so it's equal. That's not necessarily, equal does not mean equitable. And that's what equality requires, is equity. Right? Equity is asking and doing what needs to ensure that everyone has the same 10 crayons, not focusing only on giving a certain number of crayons. This means that some will get 9 crayons while others will get none. And that's the hard part a lot of people have a question with. That's the hard part a lot of people struggle with. Well, how come you gave them 9 crayons and I didn't get any? Well, because you already had 10. What are you talking about? Right? People, this is what people struggle with, is having to share. Well, how come they got affirmative action and we didn't? Well, because you were always okay. Equality requires equity. That means some people might have to get 9 new crayons, while others will get none. Equity will involve conversations of some of the following: restorative justice, transformative justice, truth and reconciliation, radical honesty, a politics of love, accountability, decolonization, indigenizing, reparations, social justice, disability justice, workers' rights, workers' justice, migrant justice, universal health care, reproductive justice, free education, canceling student debt loans, prison abolition, not just reform or defunding, and end to rape culture, end to white supremacy. There's so much more. Does that sound annoying? Great, because it's annoying to live in an unjust world. This is 11 minutes, so I'm going to wrap it up. All to say, equity requires more in-depth investigation and uncovering uncomfortable information that may lead to further excavations and more messy dialogue. No one likes to be uncomfortable. We just want it easy peasy, make it all great again, stop ruffling feathers, stop bringing problems where there are none, stop complaining, strap up your bootstraps, find a job. We're trying. So if you say we want equality, then we have to first pass through equity. It's impossible to arrive at equality without making things equitable. Without equity, there will be no equality. If this resonates, please pass it along, share it with others. If it doesn't, that's fine. Don't do it. Don't do it. Like me or like others, I'm not for everybody. My words might not be meant for you. Awesome. Delete. Alt control. Don't listen. Don't pass it on. If it is for you, please consider making a donation to my PayPal at DArchives. I'm also on Buy Me a Coffee. Thanks for stopping by. And until next time, in solidarity.